Dawn light spilled across the Nairobi International Bus Terminal in bruised streaks of apricot and violet. Engines rumbled awake like impatient beasts, porters barked destinations, Mombasa, Kisumu, Arusha, while hawkers wove through the crush with flasks of sugary chai balanced on their heads. Amid the commotion, a slim woman in faded jeans and a nondescript khaki jacket eased onto a cold steel bench at Terminal 3B. Her name, unknown to everyone buzzing around her, was Amara Njenga. A wool cap hid the intricate braidwork that once turned heads, oversized sunglasses masked eyes too sharp to belong to a drifter. She clutched a battered overnight bag that looked light enough to hold only memories, and those memories were heavy. Conductor, calling last boarding for Eldoret, 20 minutes. Check your tickets. Amara, softly, to herself, tickets. Funny thing about owning the whole circus, you still need a pass to look like a clown. She allowed herself a small, private smile. It had taken years to perfect this invisibility cloak, shabby shoes, frayed cuffs, posture of someone who apologizes to door frames. Today she needed it more than ever. Because today wasn't just a site inspection, it was a reckoning. 2 security guards ambled past, half saluting. They recognized their chief executive but said nothing. That was the deal. When Ms. Njenga dressed down, she was incognito. Even in silence, loyalty echoed louder than the station's PA system. On the far wall, a digital banner cycled through ads for bus insurance and tourist SIM cards. For a half second, the screen glitched, flashing the splash logo of Njenga Transit Empire, her empire, but nobody noticed. Perfect. She leaned back, listening to the orchestra of humanity. Footsteps on tile, laughter, distant sobs of someone saying goodbye. 10 years ago, she'd waited in a place like this with nothing but one worn suitcase and a betrayal still bleeding. 10 years ago, a man named Malik Odieno had abandoned her dream for a shinier one, financed by her stolen money. 10 years ago ends today, she promised the jumble of routes painted on the departure board. The echoes reached her before the faces did, high-heeled clacks, a man's wheezy chuckle, the squeak of wheeled Louis Vuitton luggage. Amara didn't have to look up, she knew the rhythm of that arrogance. Zari Mbatha, loudly Malik, babe, hurry. VIP lounge closes in 5. An avalanche of perfume preceded Zari, all vanilla musk and unsubtle ambition. Draped in emerald silk, she sparkled like money, Malik's favorite mirror. And behind her, swaggering in a beige designer blazer that did nothing for his paunch, strode Malik himself. Amara kept her gaze on her scuffed sneakers, pulse steady. But Malik saw her. Recognition flickered, then malicious delight curled his lips. Malik, stage whisper, just loud enough, look what Nairobi dragged in. If it isn't Miss Matata Queen with her donation box. Zari, giggling, you can't even afford a bus ticket? Terminals that way, sweetie. Their mockery dripped into the air like spilled diesel, acrid and hard to ignore. Around them, travelers cast curious glances but hurried on. Public humiliations were part of terminal theater. Amara lifted her sunglasses an inch, enough for Malik to catch the fire beneath. Amara, evenly bus tickets rise and fall every day. So do fortunes. Malik, snorting, a fortune requires capital, my dear. You lost yours, along with your dignity. He slid an arm around Zari, pulling her close for emphasis. Zari's laughter, orchestrated, practiced, pinged off steel rafters. Amara said nothing more. Silence could be sharper than any insult, and this silence drew Malik in like a moth to flame. He didn't notice the uniformed supervisor on the mezzanine above, radio in hand, watching the scene with flinty eyes, ready, if needed, to step in for Madame Njenga. The terminal microphone screeched alive, attention please, 458 to Dar es Salaam delayed 1 hour. Groans rippled. Amid the distraction, Malik turned the humiliation dial up. He pulled out a wad of shillings, slapped them theatrically onto the kiosk counter beside Amara. Malik, loud here, Mwanemk, buy yourself dignity. Or at least soap. Zari laughed so hard her bangles clanged like cheap cymbals. The laughter wasn't just sound, it was a dagger twisting in old wounds. Amara inhaled, tasting coppery anger, but exhaling calm. Emotions belong in boardrooms, not in hallways, Uncle Bosco always said. Right here, right now, she was learning the texture of their scorn, so she could weave it into their downfall. A teenage porter named Kivo, one of Amara's scholarship beneficiaries, witnessed the cruelty. His fists balled. Stepping forward, he lowered his voice. Kivo, madam, want me to call security? They'll bounce him faster then. Amara, soft no, Kivo. Let travelers be travelers. She touched Kivo's elbow, reassurance, gratitude, secrecy. Malik misread the gesture. Malik, jeering, is that your boyfriend? Cute. Guess beggars choose now. Zari shrieked with renewed mirth. A toddler nearby burst into tears at the volume, irony lost on Zari, whose laughter only swelled. Then something curious happened. The laughter began to echo, not just acoustically but spiritually. Passers-by frowned at the cruelty. A mother whispered shame in Kiswahili. Two mechanics halted mid-stride, shaking heads. The communal hum judged Malik and Zari in real time, their mockery reverberating back like bad karaoke feedback. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Malik's features. He tugged at his collar, eyes darting. Crowds could crown or crucify, he sensed the sway. Amara rose, dusted imaginary lint from her jacket, and met Zari's gaze. Amara, quiet thunder, laugh loud while you can. Some jokes age like milk. She picked up her overnight bag and walked away, not toward the exits but deeper into the terminal's restricted corridors. No one stopped her. Electronic doors beeped acceptance at her access pass, stainless steel gates parted like saluting soldiers. Malik's confusion curdled into suspicion. Malik, to Zari, uneasy, how did she? Those doors use biometric clearance. Zari, maybe it's broken? Who cares, let's get champagne. But the champagne would have to wait. Because curiosity, Malik's oldest vice, had latched onto that disappearing silhouette like a hook in flesh. Back in the employees-only hallway, fluorescent lights buzzed above Amara as ghosts of the past marched beside her. Each step triggered a flashback, serrated and vivid. 8 years earlier, Westlands, Nairobi. A shoebox apartment with mismatched mugs and a chalkboard scribbled with the words Swift Trails Africa, democratize intercity travel. Malik, lean and hungry then, pressed a styrofoam cup into Amara's hands. Malik, excited, picture it, QR codes for seats, cashless boarding, real-time GPS. We'll start with refurbished coaches, scale fast. Amara, smiling, and treat drivers like partners, not labor. Evenings blurred into dawns as they coded booking software, pitched investors, skipped meals. Their love language was hustle, until the day Malik's phone lit up with a venture capitalist's number, and greed began its slow seduction. Flash. Another shard, Katangela Open Air Cafe, 2 years later. Malik scrolling through a spreadsheet on his laptop, eyes glittering. Amara, why is our account lighter by 3 million shillings? Malik, too calm, reinvestment. Trust me. She trusted him, until 4 weeks later when Swift Trails bank portals locked her out and Malik vanished with the codebase. The heartbreak was cinematic, betrayal montage set to the soundtrack of eviction notices and debt collectors. But so was the comeback. Sleeping in bus shelters, Amara moonlighted as a porter, memorizing every flaw in the transit chain. That was where Uncle Bosco found her, silvery-haired, eyes kind but razor-sharp. Bosco, you keep watching routes like a chessboard. Why? Amara, because every broken link is leverage. Bosco, grinning, then let's buy the board. He staked the capital, she supplied the vengeance-sharpened vision. They formed Jenga Holdings, using labyrinthine shell firms to snap up failing terminals. Amara insisted on anonymity, power that must announce itself is half power. Now, walking beneath vents that smelled of diesel and cinnamon mandazi, she whispered to her ghosts. Amara, watch, Malik. I built an empire from the rubble you left. While Amara moved toward her operations office, Malik's agitation mutated into obsession. Dragging Zari behind him, he slipped past a distracted security guard and tailed Amara down the corridor. Inside the glass-walled control suite, LED maps tracked buses across East Africa like constellations in motion. A dozen analysts in branded polos monitored data streams. The minute Amara entered, screens flashed "Welcome, CEO." She felt Malik step across the threshold even before she heard him. The control room staff straightened, some looked murderous on her behalf. She raised a hand, "Stand down." Turning slowly, she faced Malik for the first time outside theatrical mocking. Malik, voice thin. "Amara, this is yours?" Amara, correction, ours. Mine and every employee who didn't laugh when I was poor. Zari hovered behind Malik, clutching her designer purse like a flotation device. Her earlier bravado leaked away amid blinking dashboards and silent authority. Amara strode to a reinforced filing cabinet, keyed in a code, and withdrew a crimson folder labeled the betrayal files. She laid it on a conference table beneath the hum of fluorescent lights. Amara, steady bank statements showing unauthorized transfers. Emails to suppliers forging my signature. And, my favorite, screenshots of your WhatsApps bragging you'd ghost the village girl once Silicon Valley rang. Malik, voice cracking. "Business is war. Casualties." Amara, cutting in. "Casualties, remember." She clicked a remote. Projectors burst alive with slide after slide, growth curves of Njenga Holdings, revenue spikes after each terminal acquisition, CSR photos of scholarship recipients, including Kivo. Amara, see that dip in Q3 2 years ago? I lost 2 routes to sabotage but bounced back. You know why? Because I treat people like assets, not pawns. Malik sagged into a chair. The once cocky grin evaporated, replaced by something raw, fear-wrapped in regret. Malik, murmuring all this time, you could have destroyed me. Amara, destruction is cheap entertainment. I prefer long-form returns. She slid a leather-bound document across the table. Amara, purchase agreement. Your fledgling Odieno Logistics is drowning in loan defaults. I'm offering a lifeline, under acquisition terms that leave you with 10% and a consulting role if you finish an ethics certification. Zari, whispering, stunned Malik, take it. Malik's palms left sweat stains on the mahogany. Pride warred with panic in his eyes. Malik, why, help me at all? Amara, leaning in, voice like velvet-wrapped steel because empathy is the currency you never learn to invest. Sign, and maybe someday you'll afford it. Behind her, the analysts exchanged almost imperceptible nods. This was the boss they'd follow into any storm. Malik reached for the pen. His signature, once flamboyant, shivered across the line like surrender. Zari exhaled in relief, though tears glistened. A golden future had turned to bronze in seconds. Amara collected the folder, tucking it beneath her arm like irrelevant homework now graded, and returned. As she headed for the exit, she paused beside Malik. Amara, quiet, finally you laughed at poverty today. Remember how poverty listened. She walked out, her reflection gliding across glass panels, a myth refleshed into reality. In the hallway, Uncle Bosco waited, leaning on his cane, eyes twinkling. Bosco, you finished the prologue? Amara, smiling. The first 5 chapters. The rest, let them tune in. Sirens of arriving coaches crescendoed beyond the doors, harmonizing with the heartbeat of a terminal and an empire under new, unapologetic ownership. Night in Nairobi's old country bus park is a restless animal. Diesel fumes hang like wet wool, and the pavement radiates the day's heat long after midnight. 3 years after Malik's betrayal, Amara Njenga, pockets empty, heart in splinters, slept beneath a broken timetable board, guarding a dented suitcase that doubled as pillow and vault of fading dreams. Rain began as a whisper on corrugated roofing. Porters hurried to tarp luggage, stray dogs retreated. Amara kept scribbling in her grease-stained notebook, route efficiency ratios, peak hour choke points, rough sketches of an app that could outclass anything SwiftTrails ever built. Porter 1, chuckling, sister, you planning to buy the moon with those doodles? Amara, without looking up, not the moon, just every broken bus park between here and Kigali. Porter 2, dream loud, at least it keeps the rats away. They left, shaking heads. Moments later, a silver-handled cane tapped behind her. Uncle Bosco, rumpled trench coat, salt and pepper beard, eyes that had learned to read ledgers and souls, watched her line up numbers like soldiers. Bosco, you know why drivers call this place limbo? Nothing travels forward here but time. Amara, closing notebook, time's enough. Compound it, and limbo becomes leverage. Bosco, smiling, you speak in interest rates. I listen in dividends. Tea? Inside a dingy kiosk, they shared scalding chai poured from a rusty kettle. Rain drummed harder, fluorescent bulbs flickered. Amara spoke, halting at first, then in torrential detail, about dynamic scheduling, fleet refurbishment, driver equity programs. Bosco listened, stirring sugar like a hypnotist. Bosco, you need seed capital. Amara, I need camouflage more. Money with a quiet face. Bosco, then we'll be silent partners, I bring the capital, you stay the ghost. He slid a business card across the sticky counter, Bosco Odhiambo and Sons, private equity, yet the backside bore only a single sentence, fear makes noise, power whispers. Amara traced the words, sealing both a deal and a destiny. Long before dawn, she folded her makeshift bed, walked out beneath the blinking street lamp, and left homelessness behind like a shed cocoon, vision intact, wings still drying. The blueprint for Njenga Holdings was deception forged into benevolence. First, they registered Harbour Stone Limited in Mauritius, a name bland enough to vanish in footnotes. Harbour Stone in turn owned Moroccan Transit, which quietly bought 40% of the crumbling Jacama bus depot for less than the cost of its unpaid power bills. Amara attended the auction disguised as a junior analyst, oversized blazer, forged badge. From the back row she raised a paddle. Nobody noticed until the gavel fell. A month later, Jacama reopened with new toilets, LED signage, and revenue up 70%. Success drew zero headlines, paperwork pointed to shell companies nested 6 layers deep. Bosco, reviewing spreadsheets, you fix things too quickly. Improvements shine. Amara, let them shine on the workers, not on me. They repeated the gambit, Kampala Road Terminal, Lusaka Hub, Mwanza Jetty, each deal orchestrated by a string of lawyers who never met their ultimate employer. Within 18 months, Harbour Stone was East Africa's largest terminal landlord, and no journalist could trace it past a P.O. box in Port Louis. Meetings with Amara happened in shadow, a food court booth at Jomo Kenyatta Airport, a children's library in Nakuru, a funeral wake where she posed as distant cousin. She demanded spreadsheets, maintenance logs, drivers' medical reports. She solved a brake failure epidemic by bulk importing OEM parts and offering mechanics equity slices. Employees knew her only as Ms. Njenga, a rumor in a raincoat who appeared, listened, and left behind policy shifts that felt like rescue packages. Competitors knew nothing, until their lease renewals were suddenly addressed to a holding firm they'd never heard of. Power tests the soul the way altitude tests lungs, too fast a rise, and arrogance suffocates. To avoid Malik's fate, Amara built rituals, weekly undercover shifts loading baggage, anonymous surveys disguised as casual chats and ticket lines, dawn ride-alongs and aging coaches so she could feel every rattle still left to fix. On one such ride to Nakuru, a teenage conductor flirt-teased her for exact fare. Amara paid and kept observing, a leaking roof vent, passengers sharing one cracked phone charger. That night she drafted a memo, standardized USB ports, water seal vents, signed only AN. Because she hid, people spoke freely. Mechanics cursed late spare parts, cleaners bemoaned acid wash fluids burning hands. Each complaint turned into a procurement order or HR policy within a week. Workers called it the ghost queue miracle. Senior mechanic, whispering to apprentice, swear it's some spirit walking these bays, fixing what bosses ignore. Apprentice, lawn is spirits, sign my overtime sheet, let them haunt away. Meanwhile, Amara sharpened her corporate arsenal. She audited Lagos-based micro-investors, studied Tanzanian labor reforms, memorized every loophole in East African transport law. In a rented studio lined with sticky notes, she practiced boardroom arguments in front of a cracked mirror, voice steady, gestures contained. Amara, to reflection power that feeds egos is brittle. Power that feeds ecosystems endures. By year 3, she commanded an intel network of drivers, vendors, ticketing agents. They reported sabotage rumors, theft patterns, competitor expansions, all funneled through an encrypted messaging system keyed to her biometric thumbprint. Her face rarely appeared, but her influence loomed everywhere, like wind, felt, not seen. In a sleek subterranean briefing room beneath Nairobi's Terminal 3B, 9 regional managers gathered around a horseshoe table. Screens displayed real-time GPS clusters, blue dots for Jenga coaches, amber for affiliates, red for emergencies. Manager, Central Region, we've hit 62% market share on the Northern Corridor. Competitors are bleeding seats. Manager, Coastal Belt, tour operators want an exclusive bundle, can we spare luxury coaches? Amara, come only if drivers rotate on wellness shifts. Burnout costs more than revenue spikes. She dropped the full disguise for these internal summits, tailored charcoal suit, hair in neat twists, no jewelry except a slim watch ticking to her unforgiving schedule. A slide clicked up, CSR impact. Scholarship photos rolled, Kivo now studying logistics at Strathmore, and Jerry, former ticket clerk, graduating in data science. Applause rippled. Bosco, dialing in via video, proud grin from abandoned depots to case study at Harvard Business School. Congratulations, niece. Amara, we're only at chapter 9, uncle. Success, she knew, tasted best served ironically. Owning 7 of 10 major terminals meant eventually confronting the 8th and 9th, one run by bureaucrats, the other by Odeano Logistics, Malik's shiny venture built on misappropriated tech. Debt rumors already swirled around it like vultures. After the meeting, she walked the mezzanine overlooking the arrival bays. A billboard vendor begged to plaster her face beside the Jenga logo, "Your story inspires girls across Africa." She declined with a smile. Inspiration didn't need a poster, it needed proof that quiet competence could outthunder public bravado. Below, a group of German backpackers gawked at the terminal's efficiency, filming TikToks about African transport greatness. Amara felt a glow, but not enough to dull the edge of unfinished business. Chapter 10 awaited, wearing Malik's smirk like a borrowed tie. The morning of the fateful reunion broke hot and electric. Inside her penthouse office overlooking Uhuru Highway, Amara reviewed today's Terminal 3B site report on a transparent holoscreen. Crowd surge expected 9 to 11 o'clock due to Kilify Festival migration. VIP lounge renovation 90% complete, temporary closure signage prepared. Security team briefed on protocol eclipse, CEO incognito. She tapped a biometric pad, a drawer slid out containing a khaki jacket, thrift shop jeans, scuffed sneakers, her old camouflage. Another drawer revealed a crimson folder, not the betrayal files but a slimmer sequel-labeled acquisition draft, Odeano Logistics. Bosco, on speakerphone, you sure about going alone? Amara, predators lower their guard when they smell weakness. Bosco, remember, anger's a bad investor. Collect data, not vengeance. Amara, smiling data, yes. But a little theater sells the story. She rode the executive lift down, swapped for a public escalator, merged with commuters. Each floor she descended shed layers of corporate polish until she emerged onto the concourse looking like nostalgia itself. Moments later, Malik swaggered in, Zari on his arm, luggage whirring, arrogance intact. Ridicule rewind began on cue, Malik's barked laughter, Zari's guillotine giggles, the wad of shillings slapped at her feet. But this time, every mocking note felt pre-scored in Amara's mind, like a film she'd watched 100 times while memorizing her lines. She noted minor differences, Malik's hairline receding, Zari's designer heels wobbling on loose tiles, the tiny tremor in Malik's left hand when attention from bystanders skewed negative. Amara, internally greed ages faster than forgiveness. When she lifted her sunglasses and delivered the line, tickets rise and fall every day. So do fortunes. She sensed the first ripple of uncertainty in Malik's swagger. Security teams watched from discreet perches, managers monitored CCTV feeds labeled Operation Playback. Behind the scenes, her legal counsel sat in a conference room waiting for a signal to print final acquisition forms. And as she turned and walked toward the restricted doors, access pass glowing green, she felt the symmetry click into place, betrayal looping back on itself like a boomerang finally coming home. Terminal PA, overhead attention please, this is a safety reminder, watch your belongings, karma may arrive unannounced. A few travelers laughed, thinking it a prank announcement. Amara kept her face neutral, but her pulse drummed with the beat of inevitable justice. 30 steps later she disappeared behind glass doors, leaving Malik to stew in curiosity, the appetizer before humility devours ego whole. Behind those doors lay the control suite, the crimson folder, and the final act of a play she'd been directing from the shadows for a decade. The stage was set. The audience didn't even know they had tickets. The corridor outside the control suite smelled of varnish and voltage. Through the glass walls, analysts tracked fleet telemetry while frontline staff, cleaners in teal overalls, luggage porters in orange vests, drifted in on break, curiosity tugging them like moontides. They knew the code of this place. When Ms. Njenga walked the floor in civilian clothes, you acted like you didn't see her. But today a stranger, Malik Odieno, had barged in behind her, carrying noisy history. Amara's executive assistant, Winnie Muchemi, lingered by a filing cabinet, phone poised. Across the suite, Supervisor James Cabrew adjusted the CCTV zoom until Malik's face filled the monitor. Winnie, quietly everyone on Channel 4. CEO has a shadow. James, into radio copy. Eyes open, lips closed. Inside, Amara stood at the head of the oval table, her posture a steady flame. Malik hovered near the door, trying to manufacture bravado. His laugh earlier had bounced off tile, here it flattened against competence and quiet respect. A floor sweeper named Mama Pendo, who'd scraped tuition for 3 children thanks to Amara's scholarship fund, paused mid-pass and whispered to a ticket clerk. Within minutes, rumor crystallized, the owner's ex-betrayer is in the suite. The staff didn't cheer. They didn't jeer. They watched with the reverent hush of spectators at a high-stakes chess match where their queen held the board. The silence grew so thick the air-conditioning vents seemed to roar. Malik's eyes flicked from screen to screen, profit dashboards, safety alerts, HR wellness meters, none of it bearing his logo. A single truth soaked in, while he flaunted champagne launches, someone else built an infrastructure miracle. Amara sensed the energy outside the glass, the way loyalty gathers like storm clouds. She tapped the table twice, a signal. Winnie hit a button, the cafe-tint smart glass slid opaque. The employee's view faded to silhouettes. Now the queen could move unseen, though every worker still pressed an ear to hope. Under the sudden privacy, Amara motioned Malik to a seat. He perched on the leather edge, Zari remained near the door, fidgeting with her gold clutch. Amara, neutral water, coffee? Malik, horse I'll stand. Amara opened a slim folio and began a calm briefing on terminal operations, passenger flow optimization, predictive maintenance algorithms, carbon offset partnerships. Malik tried to track the jargon, but each metric felt like a courtroom exhibit of his irrelevance. Zari's boredom morphed to restlessness. Seeing a crystal bowl of company memorabilia on a credenza, she idly sifted through branded key tags and RFID passes. Out slipped a matte black business card embossed in copper foil, Amara Njenga, Chief Executive Officer, Njenga Transit Empire. Her gasp cut through Amara's sentence like scissors. Zari, half-squeal Malik, look. Malik read the card, color drained from his cheeks. Memory spliced itself, Amara once printing cheap Vista cards for their startup, promising one day to own a fleet. He had laughed then too. Malik, to Amara you're the owner? Of all this? Amara, closing laptop you mocked a traveler, Malik. You never checked the passenger manifest. Zari's bangles rattled as she stepped back, as though distance might insulate her from unfolding karma. But Amara's gaze was not vindictive, it was clinical, an accountant balancing ledgers. Outside the opaque glass, Winnie texted the leadership group chat, reveal confirmed. Prep transition packet. Malik's mind sprinted for exits, PR spin, gray-saving quips, even an apology. But every scenario slammed into the same wall. He'd publicly ridiculed the very woman who controlled his future permits and route licenses. Zari, sensing the floor tilt, switched allegiance with the reflex of a cat on a sinking boat. Zari, to Amara, syrup sweet Ms. Njenga, please forgive our ignorance. We had no idea. Your terminal is absolutely stunning. Amara, measured flattery adds little to structural integrity. Malik tugged Zari's sleeve, whispering harshly in Kiswahili, "Shut up, you're making it worse." The whisper echoed on mics hidden in ceiling tiles. Techs in the server room raised eyebrows. Sweat beaded under Malik's blazer. Graphite gray Gucci fabric darkened in patches. He recalled the security guard delaying him at the corridor entrance. Miss Njenga requested a conversation. It hadn't been deference, it had been protocol. Malik, voice cracking, what do you want from me? Amara, soft accountability, first. After that, opportunity, if you still recognize value. She slid across the table a tablet displaying Odeano Logistics' cash flow statement, red ink blooming like arterial spray. Loan defaults, pending lawsuits, unpaid vendor invoices. Malik's jaw clenched. How had she obtained such granular data? Amara, you build your house on the same quicksand you left me in. The difference is, I learned to read the tides. Zari's knees finally gave. She sank into a chair, silent, her Gucci scarf a mute flag of surrender. Panic had stripped the couple of their shared hauteur. In its place was raw exposure. Cameras recorded. Transparency, Amara believed, starts with optical proof. At 11 a.m. sharp, the suite doors hissed open. Godfrey Muriathi, Njenga Holdings head of legal, entered with a lithe paralegal and a thick binder. Behind them came Kendi Aresa, HR chief, carrying a slim certification packet. Malik straightened, instinctively smoothing his blazer. Godfrey placed the binder in front of him like an epitaph. Godfrey, cordial Mr. Odeano, we've prepared two options. Asset forfeiture under insolvency, or acquisition by Njenga Holdings with executive training provisions. Malik, bitter laugh. Training, from the woman I trained? Amara, correction, you trained me to spot thieves disguised as mentors. She gestured to Kendi, who opened a silver box revealing an embossed course syllabus, Ethics and Sustainable Leadership, Strathmore EMBA module. Malik stared as if it were an alien language. Amara, sign the acquisition, complete that module, and you retain 10% equity plus a salaried advisory role. Malik, and if I refuse? Godfrey, receivership tomorrow. Your board knows. Your creditors are waiting. Silence stretched. Outside, the terminal PA announced arrivals from Eldoret, ordinary life rolling on, indifferent to individual downfalls. Zari reached for Malik's trembling hand. Zari, whispering, baby, please. We can rebuild. Malik, rebuild? On what? My reputation? Amara watched them, emotion glinting but contained. She wasn't bargaining for revenge now, she was safeguarding thousands of jobs tied to Odeano's crumbling routes. Malik flipped to the signature page, pen hovering. Malik, softly to Amara, will this make us even? Amara, even is a myth. This makes us accountable. He signed. Godfrey witnessed. Kendi slid the certification packet toward him like a teacher handing remedial homework. The deal was done, the old hierarchy inverted with the stroke of a pen. Somewhere in the employee lounge, a kettle clicked off boil, and a barista whispered amen. Amara led Malik and Zari to a small viewing gallery overlooking Terminal 3B's main concourse. Below, morning light arced through skylights, painting travelers in gold. She tapped her tablet, a giant digital billboard flickered, replacing an ad for Safari bundles with a silent slideshow, archival photos of Swift Trail's early days, Amara and Malik soldering GPS trackers, huddled over code. Then came scanned bank records showing the siphon funds, eviction notices addressed to Amara, finally aerial shots of the 7 terminals now under Jenga Holdings. The staff below paused, craning necks. They read captions, "Vision can survive betrayal. Power that listens, multiplies." No names, no vengeance hashtags, just receipts transformed into lessons. Amara, quietly to Malik, "I'm not here to humiliate you. I'm here to document. Storytelling is infrastructure, too. Malik, everyone will know. Amara, everyone already remembers what you did. Today they learn what we learned from it." She signaled Winnie, who dimmed the slideshow and replaced it with a new Jenga campaign, "Routes to Resilience, Empowering Journeys Across Africa." Applause rose from ground level, not thunderous, but warm, like rain returning to an arid field. Zari wiped silent tears. Regret, she realized, wasn't shame's parasite, it was its cure. Malik gripped the gallery rail, breathing hard. Malik, barely audible, "Thank you, for not destroying me." Amara, destruction would have cost too many innocent passengers. Redemption, on the other hand, scales nicely. Her phone buzzed, a secure message from Bosco, "Harvard case study approved. Ready for next chapter, kiddo." She smiled. Life loves symmetry. The woman once mocked for begging fare now oversaw a transit empire studied on Ivy League white bards. Amara, to Malik, "Your next coach departs in 40 minutes, seat 7A. Ride it. Listen to conductors. You'll draft your first ethics essay by the time you reach Kisumu." She handed him an envelope containing the itinerary and a prepaid notebook. On the cover, embossed in copper, were Bosco's words, "Fear makes noise, power whispers." Malik accepted it with a bow of the head, not subservience, but recognition. Zari squeezed Amara's hand, whispering, "I'm sorry." Amara nodded. Apologies were seeds, not fruits. As security escorted the couple toward departure gate 4, employees parted respectfully. Some patted Malik's shoulder, quiet gestures that said, "Learn. Return better." Alone beside the glass, Amara let out a long breath. The battle armor of silence slid off her shoulders, replaced by a lighter mantle, legacy. Amara, to her reflection, Chapter 15, end of Act 2. Intermissions over, time to build trains. Below, engines roared, vendors sang, and the terminal pulsed with thousands of intersecting destinies. Receipts archived, regrets acknowledged, the empire rolled forward, tracks shining, whispers carrying farther than any shout could reach. Terminal 3B's marble foyer echoed with the drag thump of luggage and the metallic clap of turnstiles. Security Chief Asha Weeksa, broad-shouldered, head shaved to a shine, watched live CCTV on her wrist tablet as Malik fumbled for escape. He reached the sliding doors, they stayed stubbornly shut. Above them glowed a discreet red banner, "Security hold, protocol eclipse." Travelers breezed through other exits, but sensors painted Malik and Zari in pulsing amber. Malik, to guard, rasping, "Your doors are broken." Guard, "Come no, sir. Ms. Njenga requested your presence in Conference Bay 2. This way, please." Panic flared behind Malik's eyes, yesterday's alpha now cornered prey. Zari clutched his arm, the Gucci sleeve was damp with flop sweat. Upstairs, Amara's private office overlooked the foyer through UV-shielded glass. She saw the hold symbol flash secure, then turned to Winnie. "Amara, make sure refreshments are set, humility drinks best when served cold water." Winnie, smiling on it, "Boss." Conference Bay 2 was a modest room, matte black walls, a circular table, no hierarchy. Malik entered, flinched at the hiss of hydraulics as the door sealed. Only Amara, Asha, and a compliance recorder occupied the space. Amara, even-toned, "Sit, Malik. This is not a trial, it's an audit exit interview." "Malik, I've signed your papers. Let me go." Asha, "Gentle menace procedures protect all parties. 30 minutes, then you may board your coach." Amara pressed a keypad, holoscreens projected a timeline titled Breaches and Benchmarks. Each marker paired Malik's past sabotage with the new ethics milestones he'd promised to reach. Amara, you'll submit reflection reports quarterly. Miss 1, equity reverts to our employee trust fund. Clear? Malik, voice small clear. Asha slid a slim bracelet onto Malik's wrist, polished obsidian inlaid with an NFC chip. Asha, not a shackle. It grants terminal access and logs your route immersions. Transparency, Mr. Otieno. He bowed his head, the motion felt like a muscle he'd never stretched. Exit was no longer escape, it was assignment. 2 hours later, Amara and Uncle Bosco convened inside a sun-drenched boardroom perched above the city's rail yard. The table gleamed with stamped folders labeled Otieno Logistics Asset Roll-Up. Through floor-to-ceiling glass, freight wagons crawled like steel caterpillars, visual metaphor for consolidation. Bosco, chuckling always poetic, kid. Buying the man who stole your dream. Amara, buying the company. The man will buy himself, into integrity, if he wants dividends. A click sounded. Jabari Tembo, senior banker from Equity Alliance, joined via hologram. Jabari, grinning term sheets executed. Funds wired on your signal. Amara, signal is green. Below, in Otieno Logistics' shabby HQ across town, Malik's CFO watched his screen bloom with Jenga Holdings logo. 23 field drivers received pings minutes later, salaries cleared, healthcare upgraded. News spread on WhatsApp like sunrise light. Inside Terminal 3B, Amara met 12 Otieno drivers personally, calloused palms, diesel-scented uniforms. Driver Moses, madam, they said new owner cares. True? Amara, locking eyes, we ride the same road, Moses. Only difference, I get blamed first if we crash. Moses, grin widening, then we won't let you crash. Cameras captured the handshake, an image destined for business pages. The silent mogul revealed at last, not in a gala gown but in a neon safety vest among her crew. She hadn't come to beg acceptance, she'd come to buy capacity, for herself, for them, for a continent in motion. 3 days later, press gathered in a refurbished depot on Nairobi's outskirts. Once condemned, the hangar now smelled of fresh epoxy and roasted coffee. Banners reading Otieno Logistics in Jenga Company rippled overhead. Amara stepped to the podium, first time she'd faced cameras as the empire's architect. Dark chocolate skin caught stage lights, her tailored indigo suit whispered authority without shouting. She scanned the sea of microphones, Citizen TV, BBC Africa, Al Jazeera. Amara, steady, we're uniting fragmented routes into a single heartbeat, so a farmer in Eldoret reaches Kampala's market the same day her produce is picked. Ownership matters only if it improves journeys. Behind her, Malik stood in a grey Jenga logo jacket, advisory title stitched modestly. He clutched a slim satchel containing his first ethics module workbook. Reporter, Ms. Njenga, many wonder why you retained Mr. Otieno after historic, differences? Amara, because redemption, like transport, needs bridges, not barricades. Applause thundered. Cameras flashed. Malik kept eyes forward, absorbing humiliation transmuted into apprenticeship. Post-conference, Amara toured the depot floor. New hybrid coaches gleamed emerald and gold, company colors reimagined for zero-emission fleets. Engineers demonstrated regenerative braking, drivers tested AI fatigue alert headsets. Bosco leaned on his cane, watching. Bosco, you sound taller at a podium. Amara, laughing high heels of purpose. She signed final transfer deeds on an engine block desk, ink drying beside torque wrenches. The empire had expanded again, but not through conquest, through conversion. That evening, a soft rain glossed Nairobi streets. In a modest apartment overlooking Gong Road, Malik unzipped a cardboard box labeled past trophies. Out came glossy magazine covers crowning him tech prints of transit. He sank onto the floor, rain pattering the balcony rail like muted applause. Zari emerged from the kitchen in workout leggings, hair tied back, makeup gone. Humility had paired their life to essentials. Surprisingly, it felt breathable. Zari, handing tea, your mother called. She said she watched the press briefing. Malik grimaced to scold. Zari, to say she's proud you stayed on stage instead of sprinting off it. They sipped in companionable quiet. A notification chimed, Jenga Ethics Portal, assignment 1 due in 48 hours, Malik exhaled. Malik, do you think I can change? Zari, I think the question is whether you'll let change be louder than your pride. Across town, Amara shared chapati with Bosco on his terrace. No toasts, no fireworks. Bosco, so, last laugh? Amara, smiling, headshake no. Laughter ends movies. We're building transport, no credits roll. A text ping from Kivo, now interning it in Jenga Analytics, prototype for Smart QAI ready for demo. Amara's grin widened. Impact, not irony, tasted sweet tonight. 6 months later, a cobalt blue dawn unfurled over Terminal 3B, now the busiest multimodal hub in East Africa. Vendors arranged plantain piles under solar lamps, ticket halls hummed with 5 languages. By Gate 12, a bronze plinth sat draped in Kent cloth. Employees lined the mezzanine, drivers in crisp navy, mechanics in teal coveralls, data scientists in hoodies. Passengers paused, phones raised. Amara, flanked by Bosco and Asha, approached the plinth. Winnie, at Mike today we renamed this Heart of Motion. She invited a shy girl forward, Nyambura, age 11, daughter of a former cleaner now studying civil engineering on Njenga scholarship. Nyambura, reading card dedication, to every traveler who ever felt small. May your journey prove otherwise. The crowd murmured approval. Together, Nyambura and Amara tugged the cloth. Sunlight struck a brushed steel nameplate. Njenga Transit Empire. The Amara Njenga Multimodal Terminal. Cheering rose like surf. Amara blinked hard, tears threatened her vision of the moment. Amara, into Mike legacy isn't a label strangers give us. It's the echo of choices we send ahead. She gestured to the new digital board unveiling, real-time carbon savings, scholarship tallies, small business kiosks funded by microloans. The Empire's scorecard measured humans, not just shillings. In the back, Malik watched, hands tucked in pockets of a plain staff jacket. When applause faded, he stepped forward, no cameras angled toward him, just colleagues. Malik, Ms. Njenga. Amara, turning, warm Mr. Otieno. Seat 7A treat you well? Malik, chuckles softly, best classroom on wheels. He handed her a slim booklet, his completed ethics thesis titled Markets and Mercy, a co-driver model. She leafed through annotated pages, impressed. Amara, quiet, keep driving. Malik, following your lead lights. No grand forgiveness ceremony. Just 2 professionals acknowledging growth. The last laugh, indeed, wasn't loud, it was a shared nod. As brass band notes floated, Bosco tapped Amara's elbow. Bosco, Harvard called. Case study won Global Innovation Prize. Amara, tell them the prize rides free on Coach E15 with the rest of us. Cameras pan to capture opening day departures, an electric coach bound for Dar es Salaam, a hydrogen shuttle to Kisumu, a pilot Skyrail capsule whisking commuters downtown. Routes once scarred by potholes and corruption now radiated possibility. Amara inhaled diesel-tinged dawn, now softened by hints of jasmine from planters she'd insisted on. The smell stitched past, present, future. Amara, to the bustling terminal, all aboard. Screens flickered a final welcome, power whispers, but it carries. Passengers rolled forward, unaware they stepped into a living lesson of resilience turning its own wheels. Somewhere, a ticket printer chattered, a toddler laughed, a conductor's whistle sang. And at the heart of the noise, Amara's quiet legacy thrummed, unlabeled, unstoppable, on time. The end.